Morning. Today we are in Luke 16, verse 16 to 31. If a non-Christian were to come up to you and ask you, what is hell? What would you say? The concept of hell is such an important part of our faiths as Christians. The gospel is about eternal life. And, the language of heaven and hell is quite common, and therefore it's important that we understand both what heaven is and what hell is. An encyclopedist, Talbot, he writes that a typical Christian response to this question of what is hell is a realm in which people experience the greatest possible estrangement from God, the greatest possible sense of alienation, and perhaps also an intense hatred of everyone, including themselves. But is this true? Is hell a place of godlessness? Is it a place of complete separation from God? Not everyone agrees. Not everyone says yes to that. There are multiple different sort of theories. Michael Horton offers a really excellent article on the Gospel Coalition that I'd encourage you to read. But my first sort of encouragement for today is work it out. It's so important that we understand, that we're able to say if doubts come into our head about whether actually hell and heaven exist, that we're able to be like, this is what I believe. These are the scriptures that I evidence my belief with. And also if a non-Christian comes to us with a question, a family member or a friend, it's a common question that we as Christians get asked. What is hell? How does it work? Surely it's not eternal, is it? It's so important that we, for ourselves, have worked out and understand what hell is and what we believe. My second question for us today is, should we fear hell? Matthew 10, verse 28 says, "Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell." The Bible mentions the fear of God over 300 times. But we as Christians often understand it to be respect or reverence. But surely there's more to it than that. William D. Eisenhower writes something that I think is really helpful. He says, "Unfortunately, many of us presume that the world is the ultimate threat and that God's function is to offset it. How different this is from the biblical position that God is far scarier than the world. When we assume that the world is the ultimate threat, we give it unwarranted power, for in truth, the world's threats are temporary. When we expect God to balance the stress of the world, we reduce him to the world's equal. As I walk with the Lord, I discover that God poses an ominous threat to my ego, but not to me. He rescues me from the delusions, so he may reveal the truth that sets me free. He casts me down only to lift me up again. He sits in judgment of my sin, but forgives me nevertheless. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, but love from the Lord is its completion." Luke 16 gives us a picture. The rich man is in Hades, is in hell, and it's not a pleasant picture. But it's not that we should fear that place, it's that we should fear God. Jesus, as I mentioned yesterday, is speaking to the Pharisees. The Pharisees had so many opportunities to be like, yes, this is the Lord. I want to follow this man. But many of them didn't do that. They remained with hardened hearts. But actually, we often forget that the consequence of our response to the gospel is huge. The consequence of us not believing in Jesus, not signing up to this life that is challenging and has such a cost, is massive. So I'd encourage us today, firstly, work out what you believe in terms of heaven and hell. Work out what hell is. And secondly, I'd encourage you, when we share faith, remember that the gospel has incredible consequences. We should fear God in that sense. I hope you found that encouraging and nourishing, and there's lots of food for thought there. And I'll see you tomorrow.